Welcome to another edition of the Insider Mailbag. I'm Jared Johnson, and man, I have a ton of questions to get to here this week. Really good questions from inside the Red Raiders subscribers, so I'm going to dive right into them. First one comes from Texas Tech Austin, who says, the team looked totally unprepared in the first half against Houston, and then for the most part was unstoppable in the second half. Which is the true Tech team? Mediocre, very good, or somewhere in the middle? I'd like to say, drink the second half Kool-Aid and say this is a 9-win team. I think it's somewhere in the middle. I mean, I think it's a good team. I wouldn't say very good team yet. We saw some things, I'm going to talk about it later because we have some questions about it, but we saw some things that weren't good from the team in terms of, the offensive line, some blown coverages, coaching decisions to, in my opinion, and I know they say it was a mentality, it wasn't an X's and O's thing, but you could tell that they unleashed the defensive line in the second half. And like we've talked about, you'd like to see it for most of the game. If you can't do it all the game, you'd like to see them be able to get upfield and attack. I just feel like this specific personnel group just performs so much better when they do that. So I think that's holding them back. Those things I mentioned. So for right now, I'm staying pat at like a 7-win season. I think this is a good team, a middle of the pack Big 12 team, which, let's face it, that's a big improvement from being down with Kansas. All right, Eastland asks, when do I expect to see Sir Roderick Thompson back? Yeah, that's a good question. Coach Wells has already cleared him for contact, so it's just a matter of, when they play him. They said just because he's been cleared by contact or cleared for contact doesn't mean that he's 100%. So they don't want to rush him out there, reading between the lines. They don't want to rush him out there for Stephen F. Austin necessarily. So, I mean, is it possible you see Sir Roderick this week? Sure. But would I be surprised, or would it be, if you don't? No. And it wouldn't alarm me either. So, my personal expectation is to see him by the Florida International game next week, and then for him to get ready for the Texas game. So that's what I'm expecting. Anonymous asks, do you think the in-game coaching will reach a turning point this season for the better? Well, I'm a firm believer in the fact that good talent makes coaches look smart. So this is certainly the deepest and most talented roster that Coach Wells has had in his 3 years in Lubbock here at Texas Tech. So I think he's going to make the smartest decisions more than likely this season. That being said, there will be some times this season where they're playing comparable talent or maybe even better talent, and there'll be some tough decisions to be made in close games, and we'll have to see how Wells does. That's just the bottom line. Is I don't think we could possibly know until he's faced with those. So we'll see. I think he did a good job against Houston. He didn't panic against the Cougars when they were down. So, he passed the first test with flying colors. WC Red Raid wants me to again state the financial penalty for both OU and UT if they leave early. Well, it's been reported that it's $75 to $85 million each would be the exit fee for them to leave early if they left before the current TV contract is up. So that's hefty. I mean, even for Texas, I don't even know, some people said OU's had some financial problems, so I don't know where they stand. But Texas obviously is flush, but still, $75, $80 million, that's real money for anybody. So that's something to consider for sure. Texan 44 wants to play the over-under game, which of course I love, and he's got some funny questions here, funny over-under topics. But starting with just the game, first one is Taj Brooks, 2 touchdowns. I'm going to say right at it. I mean, I think that's a push because they showed they were going to play Xavier White some in the goal line. Maybe Chadarius Townsend gets some run. Maybe they score more through the air this year or this week. So we'll have to see. But I think Taj Brooks, that's a push. I think he gets 2 scores again. All right, Henry Colombi, backup quarterback, passes for 100 yards. I'm going to say under. I think he gets in. He might even throw a couple touchdowns, but I don't know if he'll throw for 100 yards because I think he'll probably only play like a quarter. All right, Cameron Valdez, 25 total yards. I'm going to say over. I think he might. This is a game where Valdez should get in and get some playing time, get some run. All right, plays over 65 yards, 1.5. That's asking a lot, really. You know what? I'm going to say over. I think Tech's going to blow them out, so I'll say over. All right, freshman quarterback Baird Morton receives 3 snaps. Well, I'm going to say over. I think he'll play. So I think he'll play in the 4th. Shaq is going to be rapping at Raider Alley before the game, so I'm sure he'll be signing a lot of autographs and everything too. And the number is 100, over/under, over for sure. But that was a good round of over/under questions. Thank you so much, Texan44. All right, Tech Freak wants to know, should the Big 12 expand to 16 or would I be happy with 12? Yeah, honestly, I think 12 or more I'd be happy. But if they went to 16, as long as they're the right teams and all the money worked out and everything in terms of distribution, yeah, I'd be okay with 16. If that makes the conference that much more viable, then absolutely. There's so many things to factor. Like I said, what will the payout be then with 4 more teams? Who will the 4 teams be? There's just a lot of things, a lot of more data I would need to say, oh, yeah, yes or no. Because I, again, like in most things, in my humble opinion, it's not black and white. You got to have the context and know more about which teams. But if it's the right teams, if the money works out, yeah, I'll be all about 16 teams for sure. I don't know if this is R.C. Ryder Jr., but that's what I'm going with. R.C. Ryder Jr. says, what happened to Chadarius Townsend? Looked like he didn't get any carries at running back. Is White better than he is? Well, apparently Texas Tech thinks so, or the coaching staff. Xavier White averaged over 7 yards a carry. I mean, some people don't remember that. He ran for over 400 yards last year, and he got hurt. So, I mean, the guy has, skins on the wall. The guy has shown that he can run the football. That fumble against Houston was not good. He ended up catching the go-ahead, or not the go-ahead, but the kind of put it away touchdown on a swing pass from Shuck. So you could say he redeemed himself in a way. But he's a good football player. They like him. I'm surprised, though, as well, that Chadarius didn't get any runs. I mean, I don't think he got a snap in the backfield. But then again, Tech only had like 52 snaps, so maybe if it was more like 75 snaps, then Townsend gets in there for a series and we see what he can do. He did have he was a kick returner, and he fumbled one kick return. He got on top, he recovered it, so that's okay. But yeah, Townsend appears to be the 4th back on the depth chart right now. I mean, if he's not getting in, regardless of how many snaps they get when Sir Roderick's not playing, I mean, chances are, until there's injuries, that he won't be getting carries when Sir Roderick's back. But this is a long season. Running backs get hurt all the time, and I fully expect Townsend to get his share of carries this year. From Syntax says, overreaction time again. After the crap the Big 12 put out last week, except for UT and Kansas State, does Tech all of a sudden look like a top Big 12 team? Yeah, I kind of talked about this earlier. I'm not ready to say they're a top Big 12 team. I think there's Oklahoma and Iowa State. I think they didn't look very good against Northern Iowa, but Iowa State never looks good to start a season. We'll see what they look like against Iowa this week. But I think Oklahoma and Iowa State are kind of on a tier by them, on their own. But then Texas, I mean, they look good in the first week, so they're up there. I think them and maybe Kansas State. Kansas State's somewhere between the 2nd and 3rd tier. But Texas, I think, is in the 2nd tier, trying to get to that 1st tier, of course. I mean, they're ranked 15th in the country, but geez, I mean, we don't know how good Texas is. But I clearly think they're in the top half, those 4 teams. And then you have TCU, Texas Tech, West Virginia, who lost to Maryland. Those teams, where are they at? And I think that's where Texas Tech resides, and we don't know yet. Is Texas Tech better than TCU and West Virginia? Are they better than Baylor? It better be better than Kansas, right? So, I think Tech resides in the middle there, in that 3rd tier. Tech Red 02 said, which other Week 1 Big 12 games surprised you the most? Yeah, I didn't even mention this. I clearly think Oklahoma State is in that 3rd tier as well. But Oklahoma State, Missouri State, the fact the Cowboys only won by a touchdown, that surprised me. I didn't watch the game, so I don't know the game flow. But still, I don't care how it played out. Only beating Missouri State at home by a touchdown is not a good look. That surprised me. Panther Cat wants to know what 2 other players other than Stormont and Rogers see time at tackle this game. Yeah, the top 2 candidates, in my opinion, are Ethan Card who, he was in competition with Caleb Rogers for that starting tackle spot. He started some games at left tackle last season. He's still young, but he's a big dude. He has some athleticism. He needs to develop and come on. But Ethan Carr's one guy. Larry Moore is a guy. He's up to 290 pounds, which is still too light to play tackle, but he's getting up there. It's his second year in the program, and he's shown promise. I really liked what I saw from him in the spring. Saw a little bit more of that in the fall. So I think he's a guy who's going to be probably one of your starting tackles here in the coming years at Texas Tech. I really like Larry Moore. Raider Power 81 says, now that we're back to a normal season, how many of the freshmen played Saturday, and will y'all be keeping up with the number of games they've played in for redshirt purposes? Yeah, of course. I mean, it's not very difficult to do, to be honest. They have a participation chart with every box score of every game. So, according to that participation chart, only one true freshman played Saturday, and I think most of y'all know who that is. That's tight end Mason Tharp. I was kind of surprised Moore didn't play, but I think it was because one of the reasons, again, the offense only played, 52 snaps, or 50-something snaps, can't remember, which is very low. After that first quarter where Houston had the ball almost the entire time, like the first 10 minutes. And then Tech got down, so it's like you're not trying to play freshmen, put them in the game for the first time when you're trying to claw back out of a hole. And then on the other side, the defense played a lot, but they're such a veteran squad. There's just not a lot of freshmen playing on defense this year. Why would you? You got seniors in the 3 deep, so who could play. So, I think that's why you only saw one freshman. I think you're going to see a lot more this week against Stephen F. Austin. Be better, And I'm excited to see some guys. Baron Morton, Cameron Valdez. I think you even see some guys on defense too. So, we'll definitely keep up with it. Like I said, it's not difficult. I expect almost all of the freshmen to redshirt, but to play in several games because, of course, you can play up to 4 games now in a season and still redshirt. All right, final question comes from Radio PD, who says, what gives you pause about this team this year and what excites you the most? Yeah, I think it's fairly obvious what the main problem is, and I've been saying it since, spring started. The offensive line is what concerns me. And, the coaches and a lot of players will be like, no, they're good, they're going to say all this stuff. But, no, I know when I see it, it's a problem. And they have to stay healthy, for one, which I've been saying, but also they need to improve the starters. The starters did not play as good as I thought they would in the first game. Now, it wasn't all bad. They really pushed Houston around in the running game, so there's something to be said for that. When Tech really needed to convert, especially late, they did a good job pass blocking. They made some adjustments, too, with schemes, so that's something we're going to have to keep an eye on. But offensive line needs to improve. It's such an important part of the game. They have to improve if Tech really wants to have just a great season. And then, in terms of what excites me, that's just what I've been saying. The overall talent levels up. You got a quarterback you can believe in. The depth is there at almost every position now. And then I think what really, in terms of the game Saturday against Houston, that really got me excited was just how physical they were. Like I said, offensively, they were able to push Houston around and run the ball. Taj Brooks had a great day. With 134 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then on defense, it seemed like in the second half, every tackle was just like a hit stick tackle. It was just a boom, where you thought it broke Houston's will. Their players didn't want any of Texas defense. Now I'm not expecting it to necessarily be like that in the Big 12, but Tech was fresh despite playing a lot of snaps. They were confident despite facing a lot of adversity early on, and they were clearly the more physical, bullying type team against Houston, and that was fun to see. That excites me. That gets me excited for the rest of the season. So, with that, I want to thank everyone for watching, and until next time.